Hi, everyone. Hopefully you guys can see me okay here. This is Lacelyn Hernandez, independent Scentsy consultant, and today I'm going to be talking about presenting for our Scented Bliss group, and we will be posting this out on YouTube, so feel free to use any of the tips that we are going to be providing today. Okay, so I've been a consultant now for a little over 4.5 years, and last Saturday I actually hosted an on-location party or home party. So this was actually really quite easy for me to get prepared because I had everything in one suitcase as well as my Scentsy backpack, and that's normally what I use to transport all of my items when I'm going to go and set up for an on-location or a home party. And it's really simple. What I like to do is whenever I pack my stuff up, okay, when I'm unloading my car, I want to have the least amount of things possible. So like I mentioned, I bring my Scentsy backpack. You don't have to have a Scentsy backpack. Just whatever backpack works fine is completely great. I also have a Scentsy suitcase that I use to transport everything. And those are the only 2 items that I carry in with me when I attend any home party or any on-location event. Because of course we want our customers to see how easy, simple, and fun this really is, because it really is, right? So whenever I enter the party, I do my little setup, and I'm going to show you guys here in a little bit after I'm done talking and sharing. I'm going to show you what my setup looks like. Every home party that I do, every on-location event that I do, it's completely different. I like to switch it up, and eventually as you start to do more, as you start to book more, and as you start to attend more, you will come up with a system that works really great for you. What I do is I always like to arrive at least minimum 30 to 45 minutes prior to the start of our event. Now the reasoning for this is because of course I want to have everything set up by the time our guests arrive. That also gives me time to chat a little bit with our host to find out what kind of things that she has on her wish list. Maybe even if she's interested in the Scentsy opportunity, or if she's never hosted before, this kind of gives me an opportunity to answer any questions that she might have before we get started. So that's something definitely to keep in mind. Now, whenever I'm done getting all set up and our guests start to arrive, I always try to answer the door and I introduce myself. I also will hand out these lap boards. And as you can see, this is really simple. This is basically just a binder. I cut it right down the center in half, okay? And in the binder, I always, or I'm not the binder, in the lap board, I will always give them a pen. Okay, so all attendees will get one of these, but they'll get a pen, they'll get the showcase brochure, which is the large. As you can see, the reason why I give this out is because the pictures are much larger. The print is much larger, so it's a little bit easier to see. Okay, so they get that, and that's just for their viewing purposes only. I do give them one of these product lists here. This is what they can actually use to mark their scent selections on, or maybe when I'm going through some of the products during our demo, they can actually circle some of the items that they might be interested in ordering. Okay, so this helps them with that. I also like to put a sheet of paper in there because when we do play our games, which I love, I personally love playing games because I feel like it's a great way to have an icebreaker so that I can get to know my customers and they can get to know me just a little bit better. I always like to include, and I'm sorry I forgot to grab it to put in here, but normally every month we have a warmer and a scent of the month flyer. So I like to include that as well because, and I put that right here in front of this blank sheet. So I usually put my scent sample, my sheet of paper, the product list, and then the large showcase brochure. And it's really simple, right? Not many things to have to put in there, not many things for them to have to carry whenever they receive their lap boards. But the first thing that I talk about before I get started is I introduce myself. And then I go right into the warmer and the scent of the month because it's right there on the very front of their lap board. So that's kind of an entryway for me to start out our party or our event. So once we do that, once I talk about and share the information about warmer and scent of the month, then we play our game. So that's where the piece of paper comes in handy. So last Saturday, I actually played something called the Scentsy Purse Game. It's really simple. If you guys are looking for ideas for parties, for tips on games, those kinds of things, so you guys can change it up a little bit, In the training center of your workstation, there are a ton of videos about different games, about presentations, about setup. All those kinds of things are located right in your training center of your workstation at your fingertips 24/7, okay? So you can never say, I couldn't find anything. There are tons of things out there, okay? So what I did when I first became a consultant, I was a little bit hesitant and afraid at the same time because I never done a sales anything. I never had a sales job in my life. I was never in network selling, or I was never in network marketing. I was never in, I never owned a small business. So this was all really new to me. So I went right to that training center, and I mean, I was looking at videos nonstop about how to grow my business, how to do setups, how to do shows. And I really found my niche in doing on location or home parties. That's probably my all-time favorite type of events or parties to do, aside from attending shows and fairs and that kind of thing. So I really feel like this is a great way, especially if you're somewhat of an introvert and you have a hard time standing in front of people. One thing I always like to tell my team members is the more you do it, the better you get. So the more parties you book, the better you'll get at it. Okay, the more parties that you host, the better your setups will be. Okay, because obviously every time I do a setup, I'm like, oh, I wish I would have done this differently, or I wish I would have brought this item versus this item. But a lot of the times, like I said, you will kind of find your groove once you host more parties and so on and so forth, okay? So like I said, everybody comes to the party, they get a lot bored. We start out, like I said, with sharing the warmer and the scent of the month. Also with our, we have our game. Second is our game. Now I'm going to show you my table setup, and I'm actually sitting. So I'm going to flip my camera around because I want to show you guys just how simple the setup can be. It doesn't have to be anything spectacular. You don't have to spend a ton of money, especially if you're a brand new consultant. Everything that you receive in your starter kit is more than enough to run a successful business. And until you start getting some items using your free and your half price host rewards, like I said, there really is no need to spend a ton of money because Scentsy gives you everything that you absolutely need to have a fantastic start to any of your home shows, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and flip my camera here so that you guys can see my setup. So I'm just here, and I'm here in my formal. Like I said, I did a home party last Saturday. So everything that you see here fits in my Scentsy suitcase as well as my Scentsy backpack. Okay, so that's it. I mean, look at that, super simple, small setup. I like to bring these little clipboard things where it says here, like it, place an order, love it, host a party, want it all, join my team. So I like to sprinkle in the Scentsy opportunity as much as I can, as well as some information about myself. I don't like to share everything at the get-go because I want my customers to kind of know a little bit more about me as the party goes on. I don't want to give them all of the good stuff in the beginning. And as you notice here, right smack here in the center of my setup, I've got my Scentsy bag here. Now this Scentsy bag, I put Suri the seahorse, she's our Scentsy buddy, and I put her in there so that because she can't actually stand. So I just put that in there. Now this right here, this flyer, so this is the warmer and scent of the month special flyer. That was the one that I was talking about. This is our usually the first item that's in our lap board. And then I have a catalog, I have the join brochure, and I also have a party brochure as well. Okay, because what I do is when I first start out, like I said, I introduce myself, we play our games, and then I use the Scentsy purse game to kind of talk about some of the items that I have here on my table. For example, how we play the Scentsy purse game is super simple. And I'm gonna flip the camera again because I wanna be able to talk to you guys while I'm sharing more about the Scentsy purse game. So it's really simple. The way that it actually works is you are going to ask your customers to get their purses ready, to get their bags ready, whatever it is that they brought with them. Okay, and then they're going to dig into their purses as you're going through some of these items, and you're gonna call out an item, and if they have the item, then they get points for that. Whoever has the most points at the end of the game will win a prize, or what I like to call a surprise, okay? So for example, for the letter S, we said safety, Okay, so for the letter S, I said safety, and then of course the item that I chose was lip gloss. And I said, okay, check in your purses. If you have a lip gloss, then you'll get 10 points. And then I said, okay, for the first letter, for the first item, it's the letter S. And we're gonna talk about safety. So we talked about the safety of the warmers, you know, how we use low wattage light bulbs. We don't use anything with wicks or fire. So there's no smoke, no soot, nothing you have to worry about. And then of course you can leave them on 24/7. So on and so forth. That's kind of how we went with our game. And like I said, the customers were having tons of fun with it because of course, the more items you start asking them to pull out, then they're like, oh my gosh, I don't have that. Oh, dang it, I cleaned my purse out. Now I don't have this item. And so they're just kind of looking around, but they're still listening to some of the information that you're sharing. And when we get down to the letters, S and Y at the very end of the word Scentsy, S stands for sell or the opportunity, right? So I got to sprinkle in some information about that and how I joined, my join story. Also the letter Y, we talked about why not join. And then that's kind of when I shared a little bit more about my Scentsy story and about the opportunity that they have to join my team and or host a party. Okay, so it's really simple. Like I said, the way that you decide that you want to set your parties up, just make it easy, make it fun, make it simple. But most of all, don't get so overwhelmed with thinking that you have to have everything. Okay, when I first joined, I was seeing everybody that had all these awesome things and I wanted to have all these awesome things too. But what happens is you're not being authentic to yourself. Okay, and if you're having to spend a ton of money that you really don't have, a lot of us are in this business or we join this business so that we can make some extra money, right? Not spend a whole ton of it. So as I always tell my team, be authentic, be yourself, work with what you have, because I can guarantee you the small setup that I have here that took me a little while to build, a couple months when I first started, even up to a year, because I would just continue to do home parties, but I would always use whatever it was that I got in my kit. And that's what I was going to mention, because I just said that. That was a cue for myself to show you guys something here, okay? Because I always get questions about, for example, I don't know if you guys can see here through this sheer purple cloth. So I actually have my testers in there. So as you notice, when I do my on-location events or my home parties, I have my testers kind of hiding. I don't want to present my testers and the smelly things at the beginning of my, I don't want to present it right at the beginning. Okay, I want people to be engaged with me. I want to have their full on attention, and I want to be able to share Scentsy and my love for the products before we even get to that. Because what I find sometimes is when we start off the party by allowing them to smell the fragrances, then what happens is sometimes you lose their attention. So when you are trying to talk about the opportunity, when you are talking about hosting, when you are talking about yourself, or like even, I shared a little bit about the incentive trips that are coming up for next year. Also, where our next Scentsy family reunion is going to be for next year, which is in Anaheim, California. But if I were to just allow them to smell things and pass out catalogs when I get there, I'm going to lose my crowd and my audience right from the get-go. So that's exactly why I started incorporating the lap boards, why I incorporate an icebreaker or a game to begin with, and also why I like to play games like the Scentsy Purse game, because it gives me the opportunity to showcase our products, because of course it's a Scentsy party or a Scentsy event. Our customers are there to learn more about our products, not to just shop and then leave, because they could easily do that online, but they're there because they want to know more information about the products. And as a consultant, even though I've been a consultant for a little bit over 4.5 years, I learn something new every single day. So just because I'm a consultant and maybe somebody that's been using Scentsy for over 5 years says, oh, I know everything about it, I love it. But then sometimes I'll find when I share, for example, how do you clean out your wax? How do you clean out your wax? I've actually gone to parties or to home shows where I will have customers that say, I've never cleaned it out. I didn't know you're supposed to. And these could be customers that have been using these products for over 5 years. But like I said, that is why it's so important to not allow customers to lose basically you don't lose their attention right from the get-go. You want them, like I said, you want them to be engaged with you, but you also want to inform them. That's why you're there as a consultant. Okay, so we need to be taking really great care of our customers by informing them, educating them, and helping them. Okay, so when you get towards the end of your presentation and you're going to allow your customers to start smelling the fragrances, at that time, that's when I kind of like to, you know, browse the room. And I like to talk and conversate with some of these customers because I want to be able to answer their questions. When they're ready for order forms, I will ask if anybody needs an order form, please make sure that you let me know so that I can sit with you and I can help you to fill it out. At that time is when I offer, if they, you know, offer to them if they're interested or if they thought about, while we were doing this event or this party, if they thought about hosting one themselves. And if they did, and if it was a qualifying party, that their host will also receive a half-price item when they attend their party. So that is one way that you can do it. Something else that I always ask when I'm helping them to fill out their order forms is, have you ever thought about becoming a consultant? Especially if somebody gives you a slew of things on their list, and I'm like, okay, you're spending about $75 to $100, or even somebody that's spending $50, you know, have you ever thought about maybe becoming a consultant? It seems like you really love these products. So those are some reasons why I like to sit with my customers and help them to fill out their order forms. A lot of times I've been to parties, other parties before for other companies where, like I said, it's very different. They just pass out the catalogs, they have their setup, they don't say much, then they give you order forms and they're just expecting you to know these things and to fill them all out. We as consultants are there to educate, to inform, to help our customers, because sometimes we have customers there that have never used Scentsy before. Okay, so like I said, we want them to know how simple this is. You never, never, never know when somebody can be your next team member, when somebody can be your next host, or will be. I should say the word will, not can, because we all can be something, right? But will is more of a word that sounds like potential. Okay, so you never know when that next person is going to be your next host or your next team member, and you're almost setting them up to show them, this is what I do, this is how I do it. Because sometimes what happens is if they end up joining your team, or if they end up wanting to host a party, they'll take everything that they learned at that specific show, they'll use it for the future. Okay, I hope that this has helped you guys out. I hope that you guys have a wonderful event for the next one that you guys book, because we have an amazing lineup coming up, and we still have the rest of our summer catalog to go until the next month. So I hope this has helped out in some way, shape, or form, and I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day.